Have you ever realized that as people grow older, they sometimes develop behaviors that unintentionally push others away, yet no one ever warns them? It's not just about gray hairs or moving a bit slower. Certain habits can make the aging process feel lonelier, more challenging, and at times, deeply frustrating. The most troubling part, many older adults have no idea they're doing it, whether it's minor daily routines or long-established patterns. These habits can quietly harm both relationships and overall well-being. The good news is, once you're aware of them, you can take steps to shift course. Julie, a retired librarian at 71, used to be the soul of her neighborhood. She loved engaging with neighbors, reconnecting with longtime friends, and was the local expert for book suggestions. But gradually, something shifted. Fewer people came around, her phone hardly rang, invitations to family events became rare. Initially, she thought others were just preoccupied with their own lives. Still, a question lingered: had she unknowingly pushed people away? Julie never meant to shut herself off, but gradually, certain behaviors crept in. She began voicing more complaints about her aches, the state of the world, how things used to be so much better. She stopped putting effort into her appearance, thinking, "Who am I trying to impress?" Conversations started to revolve around her. She rarely listened, dismissed anything new, especially technology, and refused help, even when she clearly needed it. Over time, those patterns created a gap between her and those who once cherished her company. Julie's experience is far from rare. In truth, many seniors gradually adopt similar behaviors, unaware of how isolating it can become. But here's the encouraging part: change is always possible. Identifying these habits is the first step to maintaining strong bonds, staying engaged with others, and leading a richer, more connected life. So, let's shed light on the silent habits no one warns us about, and more importantly, how to steer clear of them. Number 7 tends to catch everyone off guard. And sadly, most people only recognize it when it's already made an impact. Before we dive in, if you find these insights helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing for more practical, empowering advice. Now, let's begin. Habit Hasson, slipping into negativity and being overly critical. Julie never saw herself as someone negative. She believed she was simply being truthful. But with time, she noticed a shift. Mornings began with grumbling about her sore knee. Watching the news left her exasperated. And when chatting with younger relatives, she often scoffed at their choices, saying things like, "Back in my day, people had more respect." In the beginning, she didn't notice the change. But gradually, conversations grew shorter. Her friends began avoiding meaningful discussions, steering clear of topics they knew would lead to complaints. Even her grandchildren, who once loved spending time with her, started finding reasons not to stop by. What Julie didn't realize was that negativity, even when it feels warranted, can be emotionally draining. Nobody wants to leave a conversation feeling worse than when they walked in. The truth is, falling into a pattern of constant criticism is surprisingly easy. The world evolves quickly, and often not in ways that feel comfortable or familiar. Our bodies slow down. Simple tasks like shopping, driving, or navigating new technology can become frustrating. While it's completely natural to vent, when that becomes your norm, it tends to alienate the people around you. So, how can you shift this? Start by opening conversations on a lighter note. Instead of beginning with complaints, lead with appreciation. "I woke up feeling rested today. Last night's sunset was stunning." Or, "I came across a fascinating article." Positive energy spreads, and others naturally gravitate toward those who uplift them. Set boundaries around venting. Give yourself 2 minutes to express any frustration, then pivot to something constructive. Foster curiosity in place of judgment. Rather than brushing off unfamiliar ideas or trends, ask questions. If your grandchild is passionate about a new game or app, say, "That sounds cool. Can you show me how it works?" Interest creates connection. Criticism creates distance. Julie had no idea just how much her negativity was affecting her relationships until she made the decision to change. When she began focusing on positivity in her conversations, people reacted differently, they lingered longer, they opened up more, and little by little, she began to feel the warmth of connection return. Take a moment to reflect on your own conversations. Are they drawing others in or driving them away? We'd love to hear in the comments what's one communication habit you've changed that made a difference in your relationships. Habit #2. Neglecting personal hygiene and appearance. Julie once found joy in dressing up. Her wardrobe was full of bright blouses. She never left home without her favorite perfume. And she always took time to style her hair just right before heading out. But as she got older, that began to fade. It started with small things. She skipped her usual makeup routine, postponed haircuts, and chose oversized, comfy clothes instead. Then the thought crept in, what's the point? She wasn't trying to impress anyone. Days went by where she stayed in her loungewear, barely glanced in the mirror. She told herself it didn't matter, but somewhere deep inside, she felt different. She began to notice a shift in how people responded to her. Strangers who once smiled or complimented her appearance now barely looked her way. Friends stopped reaching out to make plans, and when she flipped through old photos, she barely recognized the lively, spirited woman she used to be. What Julie failed to recognize was that the way you present yourself influences not only how others perceive you, but also how you feel about yourself. Taking care in your appearance isn't about being superficial. It's about maintaining your dignity, building confidence, and remaining actively engaged with life. How to shift this habit? Make it a point to get dressed each day. Even if you're staying home, it doesn't have to be elaborate, just clean. Comfortable clothes that fit well and make you feel good. Wearing something you enjoy can lift your spirits instantly. Stick to a personal care routine. Bathe regularly. Trim your nails. And don't neglect the small self-care habits like brushing your hair or moisturizing your skin. These seemingly minor acts send a clear message to your brain. I'm worth it. C. Choose colors that make you feel vibrant and uplifted. Bright shades or well-matched outfits can elevate your mood and help you feel more composed. Add personal touches, whether it's a cherished watch, a favorite pair of earrings, or a spritz of your signature scent to spark a sense of identity and happiness. Once Julie began making small changes, brushing her hair, slipping into a blouse she loved, applying a bit of lipstick, she noticed an immediate shift. When she entered a room, people responded with smiles again. She felt lighter, more at ease, and most importantly, she felt like herself again. Your outward appearance often mirrors your inner well-being. When you care for yourself, it shows the world and serves as a reminder to yourself that you're still fully present and alive. What's one small thing you do that helps you feel your best? Share it in the comments. We'd love to hear your ideas. Habit #3. Being inflexible and resistant to change. Julie had always been a creature of habit. She found comfort in routine, preferred what was familiar, and believed that if something had worked for years, there was no reason to change it. So when her children and grandchildren began texting instead of calling, she pushed back. I don't need to learn all that, she'd say, dismissing their offers to help her navigate new devices. If they want to talk to me, they'll pick up the phone, but the phone calls became rare. Family updates shifted to group chats. Photos, jokes, and birthday wishes were shared, but Julie wasn't part of it. Eventually, it hit her. It wasn't about gadgets or apps. It was about staying in touch with the people who mattered most to her. The reality is, rigidity can lead to loneliness. It's easy to believe that change isn't necessary, especially after doing things the same way for years. But resisting growth, whether it's learning new tech, adopting a new habit, or accepting help, can quietly build distance between you and others. How to stay adaptable? Try saying, "I'll give it a shot," instead of, "That's not for me." Keeping an open mind keeps your brain active and your heart connected. Don't be quick to dismiss something unfamiliar. Explore it. Ask for help and let it be a chance to connect. Rather than brushing off support, invite your children or grandkids to teach you something. Learning together creates opportunities for shared memories and laughter. Start with small changes. You don't need to master technology overnight, but simple shifts, like sending a text message, picking up a new interest, or watching a show your grandkids enjoy, can help you stay engaged with the world around you. When Julie finally agreed to let her granddaughter teach her how to send a text, she was surprised by how straightforward it was. More importantly, she realized what she had been missing out on: daily snapshots of her great-grandchildren, shared jokes, and those quick messages that made her feel remembered. By letting go of her resistance, she regained something even more precious: a deeper connection with the people who meant the most to her. What's something new you've tried recently that helped you stay connected? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. Habit #4. Holding on to clutter and refusing to let go. Julie had always been a deeply sentimental person. Nearly every object in her house held a memory: old birthday cards from long ago, piles of unread newspapers she meant to go through, clothes she hadn't worn in ages but kept, just in case. Over time, her once warm and cozy home turned into a crowded space filled with items she rarely used but couldn't bring herself to part with. At first, she didn't think it was a problem. "These all mean something to me," she'd say. "I might need them one day." But as the clutter grew, it became harder to clean, more difficult to move around, and she began hesitating to invite others over. When her daughter gently suggested clearing out some space, Julie pushed back. "What if I still need it someday?" The truth is, clutter doesn't just fill up your house, it clutters your mind. 2. It can weigh you down emotionally and prevent you from fully enjoying the present moment. Holding on to too much can trap you in the past instead of allowing you to live freely in the now. How to simplify your space. Begin small. Tackle just one drawer, one box, or one shelf. Trying to do it all at once can feel impossible, but tiny steps are more manageable and sustainable. Ask yourself, do I actually use this? Does it bring me any joy? If the answer is no, it's time to let it go. Consider donating, recycling, or gifting cherished items to loved ones who will appreciate them. Make decluttering a regular practice. Aim to let go of just one item each day. Over time, these little choices can result in a major transformation. Also, consider your safety and comfort. Homes overloaded with things can become tripping hazards and make everyday living more stressful. A truly welcoming home isn't just about aesthetics, it's about peace and safety. When Julie finally committed to decluttering, she was stunned at how much lighter physically and emotionally she felt. She donated bags of clothing she no longer wore, recycled stacks of magazines, and organized her space so the essentials were easy to access. For the first time in years, she felt proud to welcome friends into her home again. Letting go of clutter isn't about losing precious things. It's about creating space for simplicity, serenity, and the life you want now. What's something you've let go of that made a meaningful difference in your life? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear how it changed you. Are you paying attention? Habit #5. Losing patience too easily. Julie never thought of herself as someone who lacked patience until the little things began to bother her more and more. One afternoon at the grocery store, She found herself waiting in line as a young cashier slowly bagged her groceries. His movements were clumsy, and frustration started bubbling to the surface. "Can't you speed it up a bit?" she muttered under her breath, shaking her head. As soon as the words left her mouth, she saw the cashier lower his gaze, clearly embarrassed. That's when Julie noticed his hands were trembling. He wasn't careless, he was nervous and new, doing his best. That moment struck her. Was she becoming the kind of person she used to avoid quick to criticize, slow to offer grace? As we get older, it becomes easier to lose patience, especially when things aren't moving at the pace we'd prefer. But irritation doesn't just impact those around us. It also raises our own stress levels. How to remain calm and compassionate? Take a moment before reacting. If irritation starts creeping in, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this really worth getting upset about? Change your perspective. That slow driver could be someone's elderly parent. The distracted cashier might be a college student juggling multiple stresses. A little understanding can turn aggravation into empathy. Use everyday moments as chances to be kind. Instead of snapping, offer a smile or some gentle encouragement. Saying something like, "Take your time," can completely turn someone's day around. Remember, life gets easier when you don't let minor annoyances take up space in your mind. Choosing patience over agitation not only lowers stress, it also improves how you connect with others. Julie made a deliberate choice to slow down. The next time she saw that same young cashier, she smiled and said, "You're doing great." His face lit up, and in that small exchange, Julie felt something shift. A little kindness really can make a big difference. Have you ever noticed yourself becoming less patient? How do you handle those tough moments? Let's talk about it in the comments. Habit #6. Talking too much and not listening enough. Julie was a natural storyteller. She loved sharing life lessons, giving advice, and reminiscing about the past. But after a while, she realized something. Otter, her daughter, wasn't calling as much. And when they did speak, the conversations felt short, as if her daughter was eager to get off the phone. One afternoon, Julie asked gently, "Is everything okay? You don't call like you used to?" There was a pause. Then her daughter replied, "Mom, I love chatting with you, but sometimes it feels like I'm not really heard. Our talks tend to revolve around you, and I rarely get the chance to share what's going on with me." And Julie was stunned. She had no idea how much space she was taking up in their conversations, jumping in with her own anecdotes, offering advice too quickly, or always bringing the focus back to herself. As we age, it's easy to fall into this pattern. We feel a need to pass along our knowledge, but when listening takes a back seat, it can create emotional distance from the people we care most about. How to have better conversations, balance talking and listening. If you've been sharing for a while, take a moment to pause and ask, what about you? How have things been for you? Fight the urge to interrupt, even when you've got a great story to add. Let the other person complete their thought before responding. Ask open-ended questions. Instead of a simple, "How are you?" try asking, "What's something exciting that happened this week?" This opens the door to genuine conversation. Be present. Set your phone aside. Give your full attention, and truly absorb what the other person is saying. Julie made a conscious decision to shift her approach. The next time her daughter called, she really listened. She asked more thoughtful questions, allowed her daughter space to express herself, and only gave advice when it was invited. And something beautiful happened. Their conversations grew longer, deeper, and more heartfelt. The best conversations aren't about saying more, they're about hearing more. Have you ever felt like your voice wasn't heard in a conversation or realized you were doing all the talking? Let's explore that in the comments. Number 7. Pushing people away instead of asking for help. Julie always took pride in being self-reliant. She had spent years looking after others, raising her kids, running a household, and even stepping up to help neighbors whenever they needed support. But with time, even simple tasks started to become more difficult. One afternoon, she found herself struggling to lift a heavy grocery bag from her trunk. A thoughtful young man walking by noticed and offered, "Need a hand with that?" Julie forced a polite smile and replied, "No, thank you. I've got it." But she didn't. As she dragged the bag inside, her back throbbed and frustration started building. What weighed on her more than the physical strain was the loneliness that followed. She had turned down someone who was simply trying to offer help. That evening, a tough realization hit her. Refusing help wasn't making her stronger, it was making her feel even more alone. Why asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Asking for help doesn't mean you're a burden. It simply means you're letting people care. People want to assist, but if you consistently decline, they'll eventually stop offering. Receiving help strengthens connection. When you let someone lend a hand, it creates a shared moment of warmth and humanity. It doesn't just make the task easier, it eases emotional weight. 2. You don't have to go through everything by yourself. It also gives others a chance to feel needed. Imagine if no one ever asked for your help, you'd probably feel unnecessary. Allowing others to contribute is actually a gift. How to change the habit? The next time someone offers help, try saying, "Yes, that would be great, thank you." And when you need support, ask openly, "Would you mind giving me a hand with this?" Always remember, accepting kindness doesn't weaken bonds, it strengthens them. The next time Julie visited the grocery store, she spotted the same young man and offered a warm smile. "Actually," she said, "I could use a little help today." His face lit up as he reached for her bag, and in that simple, kind exchange, Julie felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of connection. Do you ever find it hard to ask for help, or have you felt the joy of being there for someone else? Let's talk about it in the comments. Habit hashite. Being too frugal to enjoy life. Julie had always been mindful about her spending. She collected coupons, skipped getaways, and thought twice before buying anything she didn't absolutely need. Even though she had more than enough saved, she constantly worried, what if I need this money later? What if something unexpected happens? One day, her longtime friend Linda invited her on a relaxing weekend trip to the countryside. "It'll be fun, Julie. We'll unwind, enjoy good food, and just take it easy." Hoisu. Julie's first reaction was to decline travel. Dining out, she could come up with plenty of reasons to say no. But deep inside, she asked herself, when was the last time I truly treated myself? She had spent years saving for someday, but what if that day never arrived? Why enjoying your money is important. Being financially wise matters. But life isn't only about saving, it's about living. Experiences tend to bring more long-term happiness than physical items. Research shows that spending money on adventures, hobbies, or quality time with others often leaves a lasting sense of joy. While material things quickly lose their charm, you've worked hard to reach this chapter of life. Enjoy it. Money should be a tool for your happiness, not just a number in a savings account. Financial safety matters, but so does personal fulfillment. Striking a balance between preparing for the future and living in the present is essential. How to shift the habit? Allow yourself to spend on things that truly bring joy, whether it's a beautiful meal, a creative hobby, or a short vacation. Let yourself enjoy it without guilt. Create a fun fund. Designate part of your savings for experiences and feel-good moments. Ask yourself, if not now, when life doesn't wait. Julie eventually said yes to the countryside getaway. She laughed more during those 2 days than she had in months. And as she sat beside her best friend, watching the sunset, she realized this is what she'd been saving for all along. What's one joyful experience you postponed because of money? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Habit #9. Speaking down to younger generations, Julie absolutely adored her grandson, Ethan. She always looked forward to his visits. But lately, their time together had grown shorter and more awkward. He used to excitedly share stories about school or his favorite video games, but now, the conversations felt strained. One afternoon, Ethan mentioned a new app he was really into. Julie let out a sigh and shook her head. Back in my day, we didn't need all this technology. Kids actually played outside instead of staring at screens. Sendero. Ethan fell silent. After a few moments, he glanced at his phone and softly said, I should probably get going. As the door clicked shut behind him, Julie felt a wave of regret. It wasn't her intention to push him away. She only wanted him to understand how different life had been in her time. But had she ended up making him feel dismissed instead? Why this creates distance with younger generations? It's natural to compare the past with the present. But constantly reminding younger people that things were better before can come across as criticism rather than empathy. It can make them feel like their own experiences are invalid or unimportant. Instead of fostering connection, it puts up a wall. Times evolve, and that's perfectly okay. Each generation faces its own set of challenges and breakthroughs. True connection is built not through judgment, but through support. Being open to their world helps build stronger, lasting relationships. How to change the habit? Lead with curiosity, not dismissal. Instead of saying, we never had that in my day, try, that sounds interesting. Can you tell me more about it? Look for shared experiences. You can still share stories from your youth, just relate them in a way that resonates with what they're experiencing today. Choose encouragement over critique. Younger generations thrive when they feel supported. Your words have the power to uplift rather than discourage. The next time Ethan came by, Julie took a new approach. When he brought up a video game he was excited about, she smiled and asked, what do you like about it? Ethan lit up, eagerly explaining the game's strategy. For the first time in a long while, their conversation flowed with ease. And as he lingered a bit longer that evening, Julie realized something important. Bridging generational gaps isn't about changing them. It's about understanding them. Have you ever felt out of sync with the younger generation? What helped you reconnect? Share in the comments. Julie sat quietly by the window, watching the leaves drift to the ground. Another holiday season was drawing near, but instead of excitement, she felt a familiar weight settle in her chest. She couldn't stop replaying the past, the friend who had betrayed her, the unresolved fight with her sister, the decisions she wished she could take back. It was as if the past had taken hold, looping in her mind, like an old movie she couldn't turn off. One afternoon, her neighbor Linda noticed Julie's far-off gaze and asked, "What's on your mind?" Julie replied, "I just keep thinking about things I can't change." "It's war," Linda offered a gentle smile. "Clinging to the past is like dragging a heavy suitcase everywhere you go. Imagine how much lighter you'd feel if you finally put it down." Why holding on to resentment and regret is harmful? It robs you of the joy in the present. When you're stuck reliving old wounds, it becomes hard to appreciate the good things happening now. It weakens relationships. Bitterness, often unspoken, can quietly erode closeness with those you care about. It takes a toll on your health. Lingering resentment can raise your blood pressure, interfere with sleep, and even suppress your immune system. How to release the past and reclaim emotional freedom. Recognize that the past is unchangeable. Instead of dwelling on questions like, "Why did this happen?" try asking, "What can I take away from this?" Embrace forgiveness, not for others, but for your own peace of mind. Letting go doesn't mean justifying hurtful actions. It means removing their power over your present. Bring your focus back to the now. If you catch yourself slipping into old memories, redirect your thoughts towards something uplifting in the moment. Try writing a letter and letting it go. If moving forward feels difficult, put your emotions on paper, then tear it up or burn it as a symbolic release. That evening, Julie sat down with a blank sheet. She wrote out everything she had carried with her for years, And with a deep, steady breath, she let it all go. For the first time in a long time, she felt the weight lift. Have you ever released an old hurt? What helped you heal? We'd love to hear your experience in the comments. Julie had always valued her independence. So when she started feeling dizzy upon standing or noticed her vision becoming blurrier, she dismissed it. It's just part of getting older, she reassured herself. One morning, as she reached for a coffee mug in the kitchen, a wave of dizziness hit harder than before. Before she could steady herself, she lost her balance and fell. Pain shot through her hip. Panic took hold. She tried to move, but something felt seriously wrong. Hours later, lying in a hospital bed, the doctor looked at her with concern and said, "Julie, this could have been avoided if we'd caught the signs sooner." Whoa. Why ignoring health concerns can be risky. Mild symptoms can point to serious issues. Dizziness might indicate dehydration or even early signs of a stroke. Fatigue could be a result of aging or a hidden heart condition. Putting off doctor visits often leads to more severe consequences. Many older adults brush off discomfort, breathing problems, or sudden changes, only to find out later that early intervention would have made all the difference. Preventive care is more effective than emergency care. A small tweak in your diet, medication, or daily habits could help avoid bigger health problems down the road. How to stay on top of your health. Pay attention to what your body is telling you. Don't write off symptoms just because they seem small. If something feels unusual, take it seriously. Keep up with regular medical checkups, even when you feel fine. These appointments often catch hidden issues before they escalate. Never ignore new signs. Sudden dizziness, memory lapses, chest tightness, or unexplained weight loss should always be addressed. Take a proactive approach. Prioritize nutritious meals. Stay physically active, and aim for quality sleep. Your everyday choices shape your long-term wellness. After recovering from her fall, Julie made a new commitment to herself. She would stop brushing off warning signs. She booked her next doctor's appointment, upped her water intake, and even enrolled in a balance class at the community center. She came to realize that true independence didn't mean refusing help. It meant being responsible for her well-being before small issues turned serious. Have you ever overlooked a health concern that later turned out to be serious? What finally motivated you to take action? Let's chat in the comments. Julie sat quietly in her living room, flipping through old photo albums. She saw glimpses of herself from years past, laughing with friends, chasing her grandkids, dancing at family parties. But it made her pause. When was the last time she laughed like that? Her days had fallen into a repetitive pattern. Wake up, do shorties, watch the news, go to sleep. Somewhere along the way, she had stopped seeking out happiness. One evening, her neighbor Linda invited her over for a movie night. Julie hesitated but eventually agreed. They put on an old comedy she hadn't seen in years. Before long, she was laughing, really laughing. The kind that makes your stomach ache and brings tears to your eyes. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt lighter. Why laughter and enjoyment matter more as we grow older. Laughter eases tension. It reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and boosts overall emotional and physical health. It deepens relationships. People naturally gravitate toward those who spread happiness. Sharing a laugh can create more meaningful connections. It revitalizes the spirit. Smiling and laughing improve blood flow, strengthen the immune system, and may even support memory function. How to bring more joy into your routine. Carve out time for fun. Watch a feel-good movie, play a game, or try a lighthearted activity. Spend time with those who make you laugh. Choose uplifting, positive company. Look for humor in everyday moments. Don't take everything too seriously. A small mistake might just become your next great story. Return to what made you smile in the past. Did you love dancing, singing, or telling stories. Reintroduce those joys into your life. Julie walked out of Linda's house that night with a sense of relief. She realized joy doesn't just arrive, it's something you actively choose. The next morning, instead of tuning into the news, she hit play on her favorite song and danced around the kitchen. And for the first time in ages, she truly felt alive. When was the last time you had a joyful laugh? Share a bit of that joy in the comments below. Julie never realized how much her daily habits had been shaping her emotional world. But as she began making small changes, releasing negative thoughts, welcoming new experiences, and rediscovering joy, something remarkable began to unfold. She started to feel more connected. Her daughter began calling more often. Neighbors stopped by to catch up. Even strangers seemed more receptive to her energy. She felt genuinely happier. The burden of old regrets, past wounds, and isolation began to ease or replaced by gratitude, laughter, and meaning, and unexpectedly, she began to feel younger in spirit. Rather than fighting change, she embraced it. Rather than clinging to the past, she turned her attention to what she could influence. Now it's your turn. Which of these habits do you recognize in yourself or someone close to you? What's one simple change you can make today? Growing older is part of life, but how we grow older, that's up to us. If this message resonated with you, give the video a like and share it with someone who could use a little encouragement today.